أن محمد رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. نحمده ونصلي على رسول النبي الكريم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. قال الله تعالى في شان حبيبي إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد وعلى آله صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد وبارك وسلم عليه صلاة وسلام عليك يا سيدي يا رسول الله. Today is the 6th of Muharram, which means that the 10th will fall on Tuesday. And we'll talk a little bit more about the 10th specifically after Salat. But by the 6th, of course, as we know, Imam Husain AS had arrived in Karbala by the 2nd. And so by this point, the stance of the army of Yazid and the enforcers of the will of Yazid, Ibn Ziyad and Amr ibn Sa'd, is becoming very apparent to everybody that they're not going to yield and they don't want to compromise. They don't want any agreement because Imam Husain AS has given them options. He's given them the option of either allowing him to return back to Mecca or the option of exiling him from the Muslim lands completely, or the option of taking him to Yazid personally and let him deal with Yazid one-on-one. And the only thing that they're willing to accept, they say, is that he gives allegiance to Yazid unconditionally. And of course, he refuses to give allegiance to a tyrant, and not just any tyrant, the tyrant that is in the process of trying to change Islam. Islam, of course, will never change. This is the deen, this is the way of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not allow it to change. But what the people's perception of it changes. There will always be those people who are truly adhering to the will of Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and submitting to it. But there will always be those people as well who will constantly be changing it, trying to redefine it. And the proportions always shift. And so last week, we were talking about, and we've been talking about for the past 2 or 3 weeks, this fitna of today, and as it relates to Imam Husain AS, and in reality, I haven't even gotten to that point. Last week we were talking about, desensitization. This is one of the tools that the enemies use, to take things that are not normal, take things that go against human nature, against the fitra, and present them as what is normal. By bombarding us constantly with things that are indecent. So then it becomes, the point of, oh, this is just the way things are. It's interesting. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that your environment has an effect on you. And this is fact. And it's more fact because, the fact is that it came from his lips. And because it came from his lips, there is no denying it. Anyone who says, oh, no, I don't get affected, they're lying. We all get affected, good or bad. This is why we are not just encouraged, but it is part of a command from Allah where He says, "Kunu ma'as sadiqin." Be with those who are truthful. This is Allah's command, and Allah's commands can be, when He gives this type of unconditional command, that means that there will always be those who are truthful. The difference is, before you could see them very easily, now you have to search them out. Because we live in an environment where truthfulness is considered untruthful and untruthfulness is considered truthful. But because it's Allah's command at all times, then there will always be those people, but we have to seek them out. And again, when things that should be, or indecencies become normal, then something's wrong. The opposite can also happen. So you can go from being in a good environment to a bad environment, and then those things that are bad become normal for you. But you can also go from being in a bad environment to a good environment, and now those bad things, you realize, oh, these are bad. And I'll give you a simple example. Chief, and some of you knew him and some of you did not. But he was coming here, and he's WWE Hall of Fame wrestler, for those who don't know who he was. So he started coming here in, around 2002. He took his Shahada 6 months before he passed, in 2012. But I remember one day, this is before he had taken his Shahada, we're driving home after Jummah, and it was summer. And you see this woman walking on the side of the road, indecently dressed. And his comments to me were, there was a time when that wouldn't have bothered me, but it bothers me now. Again, things becoming clear, where indecencies, you look upon them as indecencies, and decency is looked upon as decency. But this is all part of desensitization, as we spoke about last week. But there are other tools that are used. And one of the tools that's been used with the situation of Imam Husain AS, so that is ignorance. Where you take a situation, or you take an incident that is extremely significant, and you downplay it. Like, it's just something political. Just something that happened. When we look at Imam Husain AS, he is the grandson of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And not just any grandson. He is amongst the two grandsons, Imam Hassan and Imam Husain AS, for whom Rasulullah said, Al-Hasanu minni, and he said, Al-Husainu minni wa ana min al-Husain, that Husain is from me and I am from Husain. He had other grandsons from his oldest daughter, Bibi Zainab. He never said that about them. So this isn't simply saying, oh, they're my grandsons. He's telling us that everything that they do is in accordance to him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. These are those two grandsons for whom he said that these are the leaders of the youth of Jannah. And again, these aren't just titles that he threw out. Nothing came from the lips of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam except what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loved. These are the two grandsons for whom he said, these are the flowers from my garden. These are the ones for whom he said that these are Safinatun Nuh. They are the Ark of Nuh alayhi salam. Whoever gets on is saved, and whoever abandons them is destroyed. So the actions of these grandsons are not insignificant. Everything they do, everything they say is extremely significant. And yet, when you look at, when you look at the Shia world, of course, they have their distorted view of all of this, to the point that they start cursing everybody. But when you look at the so-called Sunni world today, they are ignorant of anything that happened. And this isn't by accident. And this is all by design. I mean, so many people that you talk to and you start talking about Imam Husain AS, they don't even know who he is, much less what he did. And those who do know who he is, you start telling about what he did, and it's, something strange. When I look at the desensitization aspect of what was, to create an environment for what happened to Imam Husain AS to happen, we look at during, the rule or the government of Muawiyah radiyallahu anhu. A lot of these governors had no decency. The governor of Medina being a prime example, Marwan bin Hakam. This is the man who changed the khutbah of the Eid, so that the khutbah would be before the salat. And when the companions, such as Abu Sayyid Khudri told him, look, you're going against the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his comments were that, oh, that's the old way, this is the new way. And not just that's the old way, he says that's the old way and this is the better way. But you have an environment of intimidation and fear, because anybody who speaks up against them conveniently either ends up dead, or the propaganda is so strong against him that they're ostracized from society. I mean, this is going on then. This isn't anything new today. And in every khutbah, where in the second part of the khutbah where we say, Inna Allah ya'muru bil adl wal ihsan, that verse of the Quran that we recite, that place in the khutbah, it was mandatory to curse Ali. And this was general, everywhere. And the cursing, like these people, today they'll tell you, oh no, this is just political it's basically political criticism. That's what they say. Oh, this is just political criticism. No. You look at the hadith in Sahih Muslim, Sa'id bin Sa'd radiallahu anhu, who for a short time was in charge in Medina, giving the khutbah, and the other powers to be came to him and said that, why don't you curse Ali in your khutbah? And he says, I will not. They told him, they said, curse Ali in your khutbah. He said, I will not. And then they say, at least say La'natullah. La'natullah Abu Turab. That Allah's curse be on Abu Turab. La'natullah is not political criticism. So when you have this being done over and over, even those who know that it's not normal, you get to the point where it's like, well, what can I do? And again, this is the environment that allowed what happens to Imam Husain al-Islam to happen to Imam Husain al-Islam. So you have this desensitization, and then what you have, and what we have now, is that aspect of just ignorance. It's interesting, when I was here, I guess, growing up here, back in the 70s and the 80s, early 80s, you literally had people who had never heard of Islam. Even when you had the revolution in Iran and all of the propaganda and all of that was going on, you still had people, you go into the countryside, you'd be talking to people, and they'd never heard of Islam. They had heard of communism, socialism, Marxism, capitalism. They had heard of all these other religions, whether Christianity or Judaism or Buddhism or Hinduism, but they'd never heard of Islam. Again, that was by design, because you keep people ignorant, so they have no clue of what something is. And then when it comes time to make that the official enemy of the state, you can go in and say, oh, this is what this is. You can tell them what Islam is. And this is what they've done. All the propaganda, again, oh, this is Islam. But the same thing in the so-called Muslim world. When the example of Imam Husain al-Islam, again, he is that example, that if we understand his example, it opens up so many doors and it makes us so many things so clear as to what is going on, why it's going on, and what we have to do to protect ourselves. Because we are in that state, that condition where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that protect yourself and your families. And then whoever you can protect. But even protecting ourselves has become such a struggle. This is again also that time where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that protecting your iman will be like holding burning coal in your hand. Again, what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, that the man will wake up a believer and will be a disbeliever by the afternoon. We are seeing this, constantly seeing this. And some of those that become disbelievers by the afternoon, their disbelief isn't openly, oh, I've denounced Islam. Yes, they've accepted concepts that are hypocritical to Islam. Thinking of Ahlul Bayt as insignificant is a sign of hypocrisy. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said that anyone who has animosity against Sayyidina Ali Karamallahu Wajh, he is not free from three conditions, or one of three conditions. So he has at least one of these three. He may have more. What are those conditions? Hypocrisy, illegitimacy, and conception in a condition of impurity. And I'm not going to go into the details of the later two, because we've got young people listening. The adults should understand. So, your love for Sayyidina Ali Karamallahu Wajh really is a sign of your legitimacy. Not just your iman, but also your legitimacy. So this form of hypocrisy, again, is not simply, I don't believe in these tenets of Islam that I know are obligatory. But they are also, again, going against Sayyidina Ali, belittling his status, belittling the status of Ahlul Bayt. And not knowing them, and thinking that not knowing them is okay. It's one thing, okay, I don't know, but I know I should know. That's a very different issue than I don't know, and it really doesn't matter whether you know or you don't know. This is one of the common things they throw out. When you start discussing Ahlul Bayt, and you start discussing especially Imam Husain AS in Karbala, and it makes them uncomfortable. They throw, we won't be asked about this on the Day of Judgment. That's how they try to get out of that. We won't be asked about this. And yet the reality is we will be asked about this. Because loving them is part of Iman. There is no Iman without their love. And we will be asked about Iman. And the Iman will be very specifically asked about on the Day of Judgment. Anything related to Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam will be very specifically asked about, starting from the grave. You look at, the first two questions are very basic, very general, nothing specific. Who is your Lord? Man Rabbuka? Doesn't ask how you believed in him. Did you worship him? Did you do anything? Just, who is he? Who did you say was your Lord? Rabbi Allah. And then ma dinuka? What was your way? What was your religion? What was your deen? Again, nothing specific. Not, did you actually practice it? Did you believe in this tenet and this tenet and this tenet? No. Just, what was your deen? General. But when it comes to Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, it becomes very specific. In Abu Dawud, مَا كُنْتُ تَقُولُ فِي حَقِّ هَذَا الرَّجُلِ. What in reality did you say about this man, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? And in Sahih Bukhari, مَا عِلْمُكَ بِهَذَا الرَّجُلِ. What did you know about this man, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? And you can't know him without knowing Ahlul Bayt. To claim to know him, but you don't know the ones who came from him. The ones that he said are from him and he is from them. The one from whom he said that she is a part of me. Whatever pleases her pleases me, and whatever displeases her displeases me. If we don't even know who she is, then how can we understand the pleasure of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? So again, this is part of that fitna. That, oh, don't know him. Because if you don't know him, then you don't know what he did. You don't know why he did what he did. I mean, you know, we've talked about this many times and brought this up. 8th of Zil Hajj. Everybody is going for the Hajj. He's in Mecca. He could have postponed his trip 5 days. What is 5 days going to do? And especially when it takes you a month to go from here to there. Back then, you know, 5 days was not a big deal when you're going on such a long trip. He could have said, oh, let's make the Hajj and then we will go. He did not. He left. Everybody's leaving for Mina and he's leaving for Kufa. To emphasize the importance of what he's doing. That's why he did what he did. Again, this is the one for whom Rasulullah said, Al-Husaynu minni wa ana min al-Husayn. He didn't just throw this out. This, you know, everything Rasulullah said has weight and meaning. Everything he said, everything he did. And when he's saying this about Imam Husain AS, he's saying this knowing what Al-Husayn is going to do. And the hadiths are very clear on that too. For those who, you know, who try to challenge the knowledge of Rasulullah, so some like, oh, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala kept something secret from him. You know, and the lover does not keep any secrets from his beloved. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not hide himself from Rasulullah, so then what else did he hide? He didn't hide anything. But even for those who don't understand that, the hadiths are very clear. Where Jibreel and the angel of rain come, and Rasulullah is having this secret meeting, and Imam Husain AS comes in. We've talked about this before. And Jibreel AS looks at Husain and looks at Rasulullah and says, do you love him? And he says, yes. And people from your ummah will kill him. And if you want, I can bring the sand from the place that he will die, that he will be martyred. And he does that. The Rasulullah did not tell him, don't go. When he tells his daughter Fatima, he tells Sayyidina Ali karamallahu wajh, they didn't tell tell Imam Husain, oh, don't go. Because they understood why he's going. And he emphasizes that point by leaving on the 8th of Zil Hajj. When Rasulullah says, Al-Husaynu minni wa ana min al-Husayn, he's telling us that the actions of Husayn al-Islam are his actions, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The blood that was spilt in Karbala was the blood of Rasulullah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. All of this to teach us how to protect ourselves from this fitna that we're in today. So inshallah, I'll continue from here next week. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala fill our hearts with His true love and the true love of His beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his family, his companions, and all of those whom they love. And may He protect our brothers and sisters in Gaza and Sudan and wherever the Muslims are being oppressed, and give them victory over their oppressors. Those who have not made sunnah, go and make sunnah.